Hello again everybody, welcome back to Make Stuff Do More. Today we're going to be upgrading a PlayStation 5 controller with the Rise Max Remap kit, included with the rubberized side rails and the toggleable clickies. We're going to give it the DTF LED kit to make it look really nice, and the best part about the whole thing is we're going to give it the Gulikit electromagnetic joysticks. It's going to be this controller right here, which I'm not going to give you a close-up of because I already did it. And I don't want to spoil the surprise. We will be giving this controller away for free. It's a free giveaway. We'll be doing it off my website. So make sure to smash that like button and subscribe, and let's get right into this.
Okay, first thing we have to do here is use our spudger to remove L1 and R1. You might have to finagle it a little bit to get the right angle. Then we just work it right in here and remove this black plastic piece. There's a strong chance you'll have to use it right about here. And then we just rip that right off. And then we use our 00 or double odd screwdriver to remove these first 4 screws. Try not to lose a screw inside the controller like I almost did here. Now to get these two halves apart, you just pry these 2 clips open. You might need to use a spudger here, and then basically just rip it in half. And as always, our first order of business once we're inside is to disconnect the battery. Now to remove the battery tray, we take this 1 screw out, and then we have to remove the microphone. And with the microphone out, this battery tray comes right off. And next up, we just disconnect our flat cables. If you struggle to remove these yourself, all you have to do is get a little piece of Scotch tape, and you can stick that to that blue tab, and it'll come right off. For example, here's a struggle, but the Scotch tape helps. Now we're going to be taking the circuit board out of here, so we have to disconnect all 8 wires. For this I had my iron set to 330 degrees C, and I'm helping by using a little bit of some nice solder because the controller itself comes with this lead-free solder and is kind of annoying to work with. And now we can take this control board right out of here. Now this is brand new, but it's a BDM 030. So let's mount it up on our 1990s Radio Shack helping hands. I kind of botched the camera work over here, so we're just going to skip right on over to the other one. Now I don't have an expensive desoldering tool, so I just added a little bit of solder here, and then used a desoldering tool, then added more solder, and then we're going to hit it with the reflow station. If you'd like to see me not have to use some 1990s Radio Shack helping hands, please hit that like and subscribe button. So we put some aluminum tape down here to shield everything else from this extreme heat. And I have this reflow station set to about 350 degrees C. I'm just kind of probing around with these tweezers here to see if all the solder is melted. And once it is, you'd think it would just drop right out, but it won't. Even when I grabbed it with some tweezers, no, I had to get this thing with my bare hands. To be fair, the other side came out much easier. And so now that we got that joystick out of there, we're just going to clean up all the excess solder. There's a couple of really small surface mount components here that you want to make sure not to wipe right off if you're going to hit it with some desoldering wick. And with everything cleaned up, we can put in our fancy electromagnetic joystick. I'm going to use a little bit of flux here so we can make sure to get those nice shiny solder joints. And I still have that iron set at 330C. If you're wondering about the twist in the solder, it's because it was too thin, so I twisted it up to make it thicker. And we'll just get that cleaned up. And now we can put away our 1990s Radio Shack helping hands. Now to remove the front plate from the controller, we just had to remove these 2 screws. And we're still using the 00 Phillips head screwdriver bit. With those 2 screws out, it just lifts right off. And now we're going to install some fancy ergoblades to really give this controller some character. Once you feed the connections through that slot there, you just flip the controller around, and you can see right here where it just lays back down right on top of those connections.
There we go.
After that, you'll want to make sure that all these little clips, or whatever you want to call them, are securing this flat board onto the controller. And here comes the most satisfying one, right here. Now we got to stick these wires down on the side of the controller. So I'll get it zoomed in real good here so you can see how that goes. And then we just bend that flat cable a little bit right here. Get that stuck down good. And we can move on to installing the new buttons. I could show you what these buttons look like right now, but I'm going to force you to wait closer to the end of the video. Or you can fast forward. It's up to you. So we just make sure these silicone pieces are secured in these 4 little tabs. Same thing here, this silicone piece is held on by 2 little tabs, cylinders, standoffs, whatever you want to call them. These 2 buttons up top are kind of hard to rip out, like you gotta jiggle them. And for the D-pad, there it is. Here we can get a little bit of an unnecessary zoom. And now we can just drop this bad boy right back on here. eXtremeRate made this fancy adapter piece here. So we're just gonna unclip that and get our flat cable plugged into it. Once it's plugged in, just push that clip back down. And now the Rise Remap flat board plugs in on top of these other connections, giving us 3 layers now. And before we reinstall this main control board, we're going to put our see-through thumbsticks back onto our fancy electromagnetic joysticks. Now, unlike me, you're going to want to reinstall the speaker before you place the circuit board here. But if you're a dummy like me, you can still go ahead and install it afterwards. Just make sure not to get the board caught up on any of these ribbon cables, especially that one right there. This microphone's a bit of a doozy to get in place. Just look at how they did that. And now again, we still have the iron set to 330C. And we're just going to resolder in the red, black, and yellow wires. And we're going to leave the green ones off for now. Shout out to Crispy Donut for making this beautiful Zelda music. And here we can enjoy my birds fighting in the background. And we'll go ahead and get all this cleaned up here. Now observe the angle that I approach this here. And it'll go right in. And then you'll want to fold the flat cable right at that dotted line. And now we solder this in. If you have an 030 or 040, you solder it there. And it's pretty obvious where to solder it if you have an 050. And obviously, this is when you solder the green wire back in. And now we'll get that cleaned up. So here's when I realized that I'm a dummy and I totally forgot to put the speaker back in. But don't worry, it's not too late. And here's an unnecessary zoom in. If you were a dummy too, make sure to get those cables out of the way. So now we can start plugging some of these flat cables back in. We'll just push that one with our thumb. Somehow I managed to plug this one in with just tweezers. This one I tried using tweezers, but it didn't work. And here I struggled to find a good angle, but there it is. Now these pads on all four corners are absolutely necessary because, as you can recall, we have 3 cable connections mashed together like a sandwich. So anyway, we can put our battery tray back on, and here's our 1 screw. And let's not forget these other 2 screws that secure the faceplate. Now here comes a bit of a challenging piece. We got to get these wires out of the way, and this is the piece that the battery plugs into. Observe the location of the wires so they don't end up getting pinched at all. Make sure you got a little bit of play there with those wires. And now we can plug in the ergoblades where the battery normally plugs in. And for the battery cable, we have to give it a little bit of a bend here, just so it has the right angle. And then we can go ahead and plug that right into the ergoblade adapter. And after that, we can struggle through here to get these wires all not a mess. And the kit did come with some tape to get these wires wrangled a little bit. It'd be nice if the tape was a little bit longer, but you can just use 2 or 3 or even 4 pieces. And now we can get this whole flat board stuck down onto the battery here. Now let's undo this clip and we can plug in that fancy adapter board. And here we can plug in that board that we soldered in. Now this guy here is a bit of a challenge, but check it out. And that's how you do it. Now eXtremeRate likes to make things fun, and so we get to tediously assemble everything that they could have done themselves. So after positioning that pin, it just clicks right in. Now let's do the other side. And I missed. So this piece just mounts to the back of the controller using these 4 screws. These are the longer screws that come with the kit. After that, we can tediously put this thing together here. We have our double-sided adhesive strip. And here we can enjoy my birds bickering again. Now you want to get these fully inserted into this plastic piece here and just stick it down. Same thing with the other side. We just peel off that red plastic and stick it right down. Then here we have some white paper, and we have these two holes. Just fold that back right there, and it just lands right there. We got these two pegs, so it's perfectly easy to line it up. You can't get it wrong. And so now we'll put in our left side slide switch. Make sure not to break off the L2C or R2C switches when you're putting these in. And then we can go ahead and install this into the back plate. You have to get this cable out of the way to land that screw. And these are the shorter screws that come with the kit. We'll enjoy some background music while these go in. Now you can reassemble the controller with this cable going through this hole like this, just to get a feel of how the R2 and L2 triggers are. But maybe you should just do yourself a favor and go ahead and install these pads right off the rip. Just slide both the trigger stops out so that they're engaged, and then put one pad on each one. Just like so. And so now we can get the cable for the trigger stops plugged into this flat board here. Now we'll rotate the back plate out of the way so we can install this Kapton tape. And then we want to get this larger cable laid on top of that small cable. And then we're going to feed that larger cable through the back hole here, at which point we can clip in the back plate.
Now, do be sure to disengage these slide rails before reassembling.
It goes together a little bit tighter because of those 4 pads that we installed. Now let's give this cable here a bit of an S-bend. That way we can get it plugged into this guy. And we just plug that in and lock that clip down. And it just rests right in here. And now we secure it with 2 screws. As you can see, these are some of the longer screws in the kit. And for this final piece here, we just install this little lens cover. And we put in our one button. Careful not to let it fall apart while you snap it onto the controller. Now we can install our 4 screws to hold the controller together again. We can enjoy some birds arguing some more. And here I've included some very nice unnecessary zoom-ins. And here's a second one. And all we have left to do here is install this guy. Just get that snapped in here. And now we can move on to calibrating and testing this thing. So just make our way to the Gulikit website, and very conveniently we can calibrate their joysticks from right here. Just as simple as that. And then I'll just test and make sure all the buttons are working and I didn't destroy the controller. I'll go ahead and fumble this controller while I try to engage the trigger stops. And indeed the trigger stops do work. Next up, we will put the Rise Remap kit into its test mode and confirm that it works by pushing this button on the right, which is technically the left one. And that means it works. So let's go ahead and program those buttons with R2 and L2. And we'll go back to the Gulikit website to confirm their functionality. And it looks like they do work. Now let's check out our awesome ErgoBlade mod here. You just hold D-pad up and square for a while, and then you can cycle through the colors using D-pad right. If you can't tell, I'm a fan of purple and blue, so I'm going to leave it on blue. And here's what it looks like in the dark. And not only does it look cool, but it now has some added functionality, and those joysticks are going to last a good long time. And this controller is going to be given away for free to some lucky winner. I built a whole website to make it easy for you guys, so head on over to makestuffdomore.com/events and register to win this thing. It's all free. The winner will be selected when my subscriber count is at an astonishing 500. Check the description for details. Make sure to smash that like button, and don't forget to subscribe if you don't want to miss out on the next giveaway. And that concludes the upgrade of this PS5 controller. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.